Welcome to this episode of This is Ag. I'm your host, Kirti Mutatkar, President and CEO of United Ag, and today I'm in conversation with Steve Church, the co-chairman of Church Brothers and True Leaf Farms. Steve has been in the industry for over 50 years, and I'm so excited to have this conversation with him today because Steve and I connected over an issue we had a couple months ago, and since then he and I have had multiple conversations, and I truly connected with him. It is an inspiring conversation, and I learned a lot through the conversation, and I hope all of you do too. Please enjoy the conversation. Good morning, Steve. Welcome to This is Ag.
Good morning. Good to be here.
The first real conversation you and I had was when I was hiking and we started talking, and just looking at your thought process and looking at your leadership, think what you were talking to me was so aligned to the way I think that I just felt an instant connection with you. So I'm so looking forward to this conversation. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you. No, me too. I know that when we did meet, it was over a customer service issue. And I was very impressed that, as the CEO of your company, of United Ag, that you reached out to me. And I think when that happens, that makes a big difference when somebody cares. So, it was great to meet you, and here we are today, talking more and learning more about each other. I think I told you that, that I've kind of built my working relationship of customer service. And I think I told you that on my tombstone, it's going to say he cared about customer service. However, since COVID, I don't know if I can do that anymore.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit more about that? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, COVID has really brought a lot of problems throughout, the lack of people to hire. And when COVID hit, we basically, we're heavy food service, and our company, when March 15th, I call it March 15th, 2020, our business went from, 100% to probably 40% for quite a while. And we were disking fields of produce because you just couldn't call and get new retail customers,
right.
So we were stuck with that. But COVID's been a 2-year process, and I think one of the biggest the biggest thing is the labor. I mean, we just couldn't find people to work, and especially the loaders. And what I call loaders, they're skilled workers. I mean, anybody that a lot of our food service orders are what we call our picked orders, meaning that the pallets, they're not all full pallets. You have to take 10 of this, 5 of this, 7 of this, and put it on a pallet.
So that's what you mean by loading. So these are people.
They're picking and loading.
Loading.
And so let's say a typical order is about 400 boxes, and so 45% of those are going to be picked and not full. So we have a little bit tougher job than that. So that the loaders were a problem, and then when it comes to what's happening even today is the people that are vendors, such as the box people, the plastic people, and we haven't had great service from them because they can't get
labor.
They can't get the people,
right.
the trucking, etc. And then also with like plastic, it comes from oil and all that to produce it, and so there's a lack of
supply issue,
yeah,
and all that.
A lack of paper for the boxes,
right.
And so everything you hit, and you got tired of hearing about COVID excuses, but yet we had to use them sometimes too because it was a reality.
Right. So what do you think, if somebody was listening, are there any lessons that we learned from the COVID and the pandemic period that we can apply today?
Lessons that apply.
Is that from a customer? Did we change the way we look at customer service, you think?
Well, I think that, we used to get our trucks out within 2 hours. and now it's almost acceptable to be 4 hours. I mean, the customer is kind of, and that's not a good thing, but they have been relaxed of it. But I think that COVID, it certainly has taught us a lot of lessons. That thank what we have here, and that we have people that want to come to work, and I think there's been, I don't know,
a shift in the thinking. I think, maybe, right?
and so, maybe some more bad lessons than good ones.
that could be, yeah.
But it sure makes you appreciate people that want to come to work and do the job, because there are a lot of people that don't feel that way, and I believe that people make our business.
That is so true, right? So, but I always so this idea is very fascinating to me. So when you look at a service industry like United Ag, right? It's we're providing health insurance. When you look at a customer or you look at employees, and when you're people centric, and I'm always trying to figure out being that customer centric or member centric and employee centric, how does that impact from a business standpoint? How does that have an impact from a financial standpoint? Does it even make sense to do that? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I since you and I started talking, I thought about it's kind of a triangle between the people / culture of your company, the customer, and then the profit of the company.
Right.
And through COVID, we kind of when March 15th came along, our business went down. And for 2 years, it's very hard to plan ahead. And so all of a sudden, things come back. I mean, we got hit with four spikes with COVID. So now that it's back, and I believe that it's flourishing, and so we've had to adjust our business a little bit. And you have what I say, the triangle. You want to treat your people properly. You want the culture. You want them to love working there. And then you have the profits where you've been doing what you were doing, but you have to change things, and it may not be what the customer wants. And so it's that interaction between all three. I mean, throughout the when COVID first hit, we had to let people go, and it was a sad day to let people that have been with us for years, but we had to do it to survive. And then gradually, things come back up. But it is that it's kind of a Bermuda Triangle that the taking care of your people, taking care of your customers, and making sure that you're a profitable company. Because if you're not a profitable company, you're not good to your customer or your employees.
That's true. Because it's the balance between all three is important, and how do we do that?
Right.
But that's an interesting. I ask this question every day when you're looking at any decisions that you make, right? When you have that people, numbers, financials, and business, there's a balance. And yes, you have to comply with some rules. Yes, you have to make it financially sustainable, like you said, because without being financially sustainable, then you're not going to be here for too long to serve people. Yeah. So how do you make that balance? That's always an interesting challenge to think through.
And we've always catered the customers. Customers, number one. I always say there's two rules in the customer. Number one, the customer is always right. And number two, if the customer is wrong, revert to rule number one. And so it's we've done, and my brother Tom, I don't think he's ever said no in his life, to a customer. It's like, hey, we'll do it. We'll find a way to do it. And then sometimes you're doing so much that you don't become a profitable company. So and while you're doing this, you want to keep your employees happy too.
When you look at this, right, from a leadership standpoint, some of us are more focused on people. Some of us are more focused on financials. Some of us are more compassion comes in, empathy comes in. And with the way different people lead different kind of leadership styles, it's all comes in from our stories and what we have gone through from childhood, right? That's reflected in the way then you come into work, and that's reflected in your leadership. My journey from growing up in India, coming here, that plays into some of the things that I do or some of the decisions that I do. So what's your story? what is your story, and how does that now come into the way you lead?
Well, I always feel that I'm a people person, maybe more than a numbers person. I grew up in sales and marketing, so you're always trying to please. My style is I like to get involved in knowing people. Just the other day, because we're having such a issue with loaders, I told our manager at our loading dock, I said, I want to come over and meet a couple the loaders, the management. So he set up a lunch, and it was almost like an interview in a way when somebody's applying for a job, but yet it was both parties getting to know each other. And in one of the questions that's always asked, usually when we're doing an interview, the person says, "Well, what's your culture like in your company?" And because they want to come to a good place. And there's a lot of things that financially you can do. I know before you talked about the success of United Ag, how it's grown, and our company, we started in 1999, and with my brother and I in a $300,000 investment, and now we're $700 million in sales. So you got to treat the people right to get there. And a couple examples of we had this one gal whose son was in the hospital with cancer. He had a very serious, rare disease of leukemia. So he was at the Stanford Hospital for 9 months. We kept paying her and supporting her. And this was probably 5 years ago. And the kid went through 2 code blues during his stay at Stanford. And I didn't have to, but I gave a little talk at the cancer luncheon and fashion show a couple of weeks ago, and I they want me to talk, and I said, well, hey, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this kid here and have him talk. But it was fantastic because he's graduating from high school, going to DePaul University with a scholarship. He's going to become a nurse.
Nice.
So, it just support the people.
Right. And it comes back. It definitely does. So how did you get into agriculture? What was...
I was born in it. So my dad was an attorney, but he was the attorney for all the local farmers and shippers in Salinas, and he both wrote the bylaws for the grower shipper office in Salinas, and then he had 3 brothers. One of them was Bruce Church, who had a big company in Salinas that turned into Fresh Express, and so they sold it. And then I had another uncle that was on the other side of the business, as my mom's side. His name was Roy Casaboom, and so he gave, when I was 14, I got my work permit, and my brother and I went and worked in the lettuce fields, and that's where I learned my work ethic. And I was out there with the Bruceros. This was like, oh boy, in the 60s when they had the Bracero program. And I'll never forget going to work the first day. They're all Hoacan Indians from Mexico. And the one guy says, he called me cuñado. And I said, what's that? He said, brother-in-law.
Oh, wow, really?
So I said, no, you don't want to marry my sister. But it was a great experience, and we worked hard and made money, and so from there on, I went to Arizona State, majored in ag business, and did not become a lawyer, but because of the influence of all my uncles, I got in the produce business and been there ever since.
So that's where your work, the people-centricness comes in, because you've seen what that hard work was.
Oh yeah, and I mean these guys, they were hard workers.
So do you think that having that family business and the family kind of environment, does that have an impact on how the agricultural industry works? Is that the relationship? Do you think relationship and how what happens Is that impacted by that? Where it's more of family connections and being a bigger family?
Well, there are, it seems, well, I'll start here. It seems like when the big corporations come in and try to buy the family businesses, those family businesses aren't the same anymore. It becomes it becomes corporate. And I would say that the companies that have come in have not been very successful. But yeah, I think there's many companies in the Salinas Valley that have been in business for a long time that have bought land and it's just been very successful. But family businesses are also very tough to because you're dealing with everybody's personality, and the families need to stick together. You can fire somebody, but it's hard to fire your family.
Yeah. You're the second person. I actually recently talked to somebody who said something very similar. They said they don't take the time to understand agriculture and the industry, and that's why it fails. And they don't understand why certain things are done a certain way. You put your, this is how the corporate works, this is how the Silicon Valley works, wherever they're coming from, you apply the same set of rules, and that does not work, right?
Yeah, well, I would say that one of the biggest thing is understanding the risk. Mother Nature kind of defines our business a lot, that we could have a very poor market, and then all of a sudden a weather event comes on, and we're making a lot of money. It's either the banks or the weather that changes the way we do. If we're growing or we're shrinking. But my brother started a company called Fresh Western that we sold out to a company called Albert Fisher, and they were from England. And our label was River Ranch, and they changed the name of the company to River Ranch. And they came in, and as soon as they bought us, the markets tanked, and they would come in and what's wrong with you guys? And then in 1995, I think it was March 15th, 1995, we had a flood. And the market skyrocketed, and they're coming in high-fiving us. You guys are geniuses. But the one time I'll never forget this guy. One of the main guys, he comes in. He says, "What's wrong? Why can't you guys make any money?" And all, I was trying to explain the markets and the up and down, and finally I looked at him. I said, "Hey, if you don't like blood, don't become a doctor."
That's a good, yeah. I think it's also the long term versus short term. So some people are looking, like you said, they come in and say, I don't see any short term profits or short term gains. But agriculture is a long term, dependent on nature, like you said, dependent on a lot of other things that requires more a long term thinking than a short term thinking, right? I mean, it's like it's a very different way of looking at it for somebody like an investor coming in and wants to make a quick buck. That's not how it would work.
And again, I'll quote my brother again. He's always been in it for the long run and not worried about the short run. And I mean, hey, if you have to do something a little bit different, you got to give in a little bit for the long run. That's been our philosophy.
I think across the board, so a lesson I actually find from agriculture is that where it should be a long-term versus a short-term mindset that you apply to business. And that's so true even at United Ag. Sometimes we make decisions and you're thinking, do the profits look good today? Does it look good in this quarter or not?
Right.
But you're not really focusing on 2 years from today or a long-term, what the impact of a long-term relationship, whatever that is, right? And then you're making a long-term sustainable business that's actually here for the long haul than a short-term quick wins.
Right. No, I think a lot of these investment bankers, they want to come in for 5 years and put the lipstick on the pig and then try to sell it. And it's like, I look at the people and say, hey, it just changes it so much. It's just, you got to stick around for the people too. Yeah. It's just not about you.
If somebody were listening to this who's outside of agriculture, what would be a takeaway from them? If they have any misconceptions of what ag is, what do you think they should hear from us today?
I would say that anybody that wants to get in the produce business, you better have a good work ethic and be ready to do some hard work, because it is hard work.
Is there anything that you have seen through when you go through your health issues or your family health issues? What would you like to see from your health insurance company, and how? Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think
what's important to you as a user of healthcare?
Well, I would say that all of us, whether you go to the doctor and all that. I mean, one thing, help me get appointments better. To the doctors. It seems like it's harder and harder to get. I don't know if there's less doctors around, but it's hard to get an appointment. But I think with you doing the insurance and all that, I think it's important to when you have a issue and to the paperwork that you put out and you almost need to get a lesson on how to read these things that come back. Okay, how much do I really owe now? But
also to have the explanation of benefits or anything in simple terms.
Yeah,
and not legalese or medical terms.
Right, but we go through our day to day, and we don't even think about that. But I mean, if there's a problem, I call HR and say, hey, help me. But I to simplify things would be in anything in life. It's a
good
yeah.
That's interesting you say that, because I'm actually planning a strategic planning meeting in a few weeks, and the only word I had on my notes was simplify.
I heard a story of I think it was a UCLA coach, basketball coach, went to Kansas basketball coach, and how they just talk to each other to help build their programs. And the guy, he had one simple thing to say, and he says, don't make winning complicated. And as I think back to our business, where we're selling 600 SKUs a day, we've made our business complicated. It's really training the people, making sure that everybody knows their job, what their job is, and they do their job. Our one of the gals that's in charge of our food safety, her name's Grace. She has what she calls her 4 pillars, and number 1 is safety of our products and our people. Number 2 is know your job, and know how to do your job and do it. And number 3 is teamwork, and then number 4 is walk the talk.
That's good. Yeah, it's walk the talk, where you go into a rental company and you find that the floors are dirty and nobody's around there to serve you, and there's a customer service is a top thing for us, right? We treat our customers right, and you find that you're walking into something where there's no customer service. Right. So how many of us don't walk the talk? Right. And walking the talk is important.
Right.
So awesome. So is there anything else that any parting words, anything you want to add?
Well, I appreciate you inviting me to do this talk, and I mean, it was really nice to get to know you better. And I think again, that's important. We all have to know our employees better and know our vendors better. So I appreciate the invitation.
I mentioned to you yesterday that I think you are my 6th podcast interview. And this has been such a learning thing for me. I know we have listeners listening in, and we're trying to give them nuggets to learn from this podcast. But me, from a personal standpoint, this has been a tremendous growth. I mean, just having the couple conversations that I've had with you so far, the relationship, the way you lead, the way your people-centricness, your customer-centricness, and kind of your approach to the way you've gone through life. That has been very inspiring to me, and I've learned a lot. So thank you for that. Thank you for that leadership. I'm sure agriculture needs leaders like you, right? We all need leaders like you, and I thank you. That was extremely inspiring for me.
Yeah, it was a nice compliment. I appreciate it. Thank you.